The stars around Earth seemed peaceful on that Tuesday morning. Commander Jack Miller stood on the bridge of the Orbital Defense Station, drinking his coffee and watching the sunrise over the Pacific Ocean far below. His executive officer, Kate Williams, worked quietly at her console nearby. "Another quiet day in paradise," Jack said, taking another sip of his coffee. Kate smiled without looking up from her screen. "Don't jinx it, Commander. You know what happened last time you said that." Jack chuckled. The last time he had called it a quiet day, they had spent 12 hours dealing with a meteor shower that nearly hit 3 satellites. But today felt different. Today felt truly peaceful. That peace shattered at 0800 hours exactly. "Commander." The voice of radar operator Tom Reed cut through the bridge. "We have multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace. Distance, 500,000 kilometers past Neptune." Jack's coffee mug hit the desk with a thud. "How many contacts?" 50. "No, 100. Sir, they're still coming." Tom's voice shook slightly. "Final count. 512 vessels." Kate was already at the main display, her fingers flying over the controls. The screen lit up with red dots, each one representing an unknown ship. They formed a perfect formation moving slowly toward the inner solar system. "Are they ours?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. "Negative, sir. Configuration matches nothing in our database. These are..." Kate paused, swallowing hard. "These are alien vessels." The bridge fell silent. After decades of searching the stars, wondering if humanity was alone, the answer had just arrived on their doorstep, and it had brought an entire fleet. "Alert Earth Command," Jack ordered, his training taking over. "Code Black. Possible first contact scenario." Within minutes, every defense station, every military base, and every government on Earth received the same message. "We are not alone." Deep in an underground bunker in Colorado, Earth's military leaders gathered around a massive holographic display. The alien fleet moved with perfect precision, like a school of fish in the cosmic ocean. "What do we know?" asked General Patricia Hayes, head of Earth's Space Defense Force. "Not much," admitted Dr. Amy Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "But their formation suggests military discipline. The size of their fleet suggests they're not here for a friendly chat." "Can we communicate with them?" General Hayes asked. "We're trying all frequencies," replied communications expert Steve Park. "So far, nothing." Then at exactly 0900 hours, the aliens spoke. The message came through every communication device on Earth simultaneously. The voice was deep, mechanical, and spoke perfect English with no accent. "Inhabitants of Earth, this is Admiral Vextor of the Zorathian Empire. Your planet has been selected for inclusion in our glorious domain. You have 24 hours to surrender all governmental authority to Imperial control. Resistance will result in your immediate subjugation by force. This is not a negotiation." In living rooms, offices, and public squares around the world, 12 billion humans heard the same words. The reaction was immediate and unanimous, shock followed by anger. Back on the Orbital Defense Station, Jack stared at the communication screen. "They want us to surrender? Just like that?" Kate's face had hardened into a mask of determination. "Seems like it. What are our orders, Commander?" Before Jack could answer, his console lit up with an incoming message from Earth Command. "General." Hayes appeared on the screen, her expression grim but resolute. "Commander Miller, you are authorized to respond to the alien transmission. Earth's position is clear. We will not surrender. Not now, not ever." Jack nodded. "Understood, General. What about our defenses? Dr. Rodriguez will brief you on Project SHIELD. It seems our 10 years of preparation since detecting those alien signals have been well spent." The screen split and Dr. Amy Rodriguez appeared. Her usually cheerful face was serious. "Commander, we're activating the quantum defense grid. Every satellite, every hidden weapon platform, everything we've built in secret. The aliens may have numbers, but we have home advantage and technology they won't expect." As Jack listened to the briefing, he felt a surge of pride. Humanity had not been idle. They had prepared, planned, and built defenses that even now were coming online across the solar system. Time to send our response, Jack said when the briefing ended. He stood straight, adjusted his uniform, and activated the communication system. His message would go not just to the alien fleet but to every human on Earth and in space. Admiral Vextor of the Zorathian Empire, Jack began, his voice steady and strong. This is Commander Jack Miller of Earth's Space Defense Force. We have received your demand for surrender, and we have an answer for you. He paused, letting the moment build. Earth rejects your ultimatum. We are a free people and we will remain free. Furthermore, we issue our own declaration. No Galactic Empire ship is permitted within 1 light-year of our solar system. You have 24 hours to withdraw beyond this boundary. Any Imperial vessel that crosses this line will be considered a hostile invader and dealt with accordingly. On the alien command ship, Admiral Vextor's 4 eyes widened in disbelief. In his 1,000 years of service, no primitive world had ever dared to refuse the Empire's demands, and none had ever issued demands of their own. Amusing, the Admiral said to his bridge crew. These humans think they can threaten the Empire. Prepare the fleet for advance. We will teach them the price of defiance. But on Earth, preparation had already begun. In hidden bunkers, weapon systems that had been kept secret for a decade hummed to life. Pilots ran to their fighters. Soldiers manned their posts, and civilians watched the skies with a mixture of fear and determination. The Zorathian Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. They had never lost a battle, never faced real resistance. They had also never met humans. As the alien fleet began its advance toward Earth, Commander Jack Miller stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display. Beside him, Kate Williams coordinated, with defense stations across the system. Think they'll actually cross the line? Kate asked. Jack's expression was grim but confident. They will. They think we're bluffing. They think we're just another primitive world to be conquered. And when they do cross, Jack's hand moved to the control panel that would activate Earth's defenses. Then we show them why Earth says no to empires. The countdown had begun. In less than 24 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not just another species to be conquered. They were defenders of freedom, armed with determination and secrets that would shake the very foundations of the Zorathian Empire. The stars watched silently as 2 civilizations prepared for a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Vextor stood before the massive view screen on his command ship, all 4 of his arms crossed in annoyance. The blue planet called Earth floated in the distance, looking small and defenseless. He turned to his second-in-command, Sub-Admiral Krell. These humans amuse me, Vextor said, his voice dripping with contempt. They actually believe they can stop the Zorathian Empire. Send 3 scout ships across their so-called boundary. Let us see what these primitives can do. Krell bowed his scaled head. At once, Admiral. Scouts 7, 12, and 19 are moving to cross the 1 light-year mark. On Earth's orbital defense station, alarm bells rang across the command center. Commander Jack Miller rushed to the main console where Kate Williams was tracking the alien movements. 3 enemy ships approaching the boundary, Kate reported. Distance, 5,000 kilometers, and closing. Jack opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. Zorathian vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. You are approaching our declared boundary. Turn back immediately, or face the consequences. The response came quickly, filled with arrogance. Earth primitives, this is Scout 7. We go where we please. Your threats mean nothing to the Empire. Dr. Amy Rodriguez watched from her laboratory deep underground. Banks of quantum computers hummed around her, processing vast amounts of data. Commander Miller, she said through the communication link, the defense grid is fully operational. All quantum satellites are linked and ready. How sure are we this will work? Jack asked. Very sure, Amy replied. We've had 10 years to perfect this technology. The aliens won't know what hit them. On the tactical display, 3 red dots moved steadily toward the yellow line that marked Earth's declared boundary. The entire solar system held its breath. 1,000 kilometers to boundary, Kate announced. 500, 100. Jack's finger hovered over the activation button. Last warning to Zorathian scouts. Turn back now. Silence. 50 kilometers. 20. 10. The first alien scout crossed the boundary line. Activate defense grid, Jack ordered. His finger pressed the button. In space, something extraordinary happened. 144 satellites positioned throughout the solar system activated simultaneously. Each satellite generated a focused gravity pulse, guided by quantum entanglement to strike with perfect precision. Scout 7 ceased to exist. The Zorathian vessel didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply vanished, crushed into subatomic particles by the impossible gravitational forces. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving only a brief flash of light. On the alien command ship, warning sirens screamed. Admiral Vextor watched in shock as Scout 7's signal disappeared from his display. "What happened?" he demanded. "Where is Scout 7? "Unknown, Admiral," Krell responded, his voice shaking. "The ship just vanished. No explosion, no debris. It's simply gone." "Impossible," Vextor roared. "No primitive world has such technology." But even as he spoke, Scouts 12 and 19 crossed the boundary. The result was identical. 2 more flashes of light. 2 more ships reduced to nothing. The bridge of the Zorathian command ship fell silent. In 1,000 years of conquest, they had never seen anything like this. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in the defense station. But Jack remained focused on his screens. "Don't celebrate yet," he warned his crew. This was just the first test. In homes around the world, people watched their screens as news anchors reported the destruction of the alien scouts. Hope began to replace fear in human hearts. President Susan Mitchell addressed the world from the United Nations building in New York. "Citizens of Earth," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Today we showed the galaxy that humanity will not bow to threats. We will defend our freedom with everything we have." Meanwhile, Captain Mike Johnson sat in the cockpit of his quantum fighter, one of Earth's newest defensive weapons. His squadron of 12 fighters waited in high orbit, ready to launch. "Stay sharp, people," Mike said to his pilots. "The aliens lost 3 scouts, but they still have hundreds of ships out there." His wife, Lisa Johnson, spoke through the communication system from her post in the command center. "Mike, we're picking up massive energy readings from the alien fleet. Looks like they're preparing something big." Admiral Vextor paced his bridge, like a caged animal. "How?" he kept asking. "How did they destroy our scouts?" His science officer, a thin creature with 6 eyes, studied the sensor data. "Admiral, the humans appear to be using controlled gravitational fields. The technology is impressive." "Impressive?" Vextor snarled. "They dare to challenge the Empire, prepare a full squadron, 20 ships. We will crush their defenses and teach them respect." But before the order could be carried out, a new message arrived from Earth. This time it came with video. Commander Jack Miller appeared on every screen in the Zorathian fleet. Behind him stood representatives from every nation on Earth, united in purpose. "Admiral Vextor," Jack began, "you've seen what our defenses can do. Those 3 ships were a warning. We don't want war, but we will defend ourselves. You have 20 hours remaining to withdraw beyond the 1 light-year boundary." Jack paused, then continued. "But that's not all. We know you've conquered many worlds. We've been listening to your communications for years, and we've done something you won't expect." The image changed to show a star map. Dozens of systems were highlighted in blue. Dr. Amy Rodriguez took over the presentation. "We've shared our defensive technology with every unaligned world within 100 light-years. Right now, 57 other systems are installing the same defenses that protect Earth. Your Empire's expansion ends here." The transmission ended, leaving the Zorathian bridge in stunned silence. Krell was the first to speak. "Admiral, if this is true..." "It changes everything," Vextor finished. For the first time in his long career, doubt crept into his mind. The Empire had always won through superior numbers and technology, but these humans had somehow developed defenses that could instantly destroy his ships. And worse, they were sharing it with others. On Earth, preparations continued. Engineers worked around the clock to strengthen the defense grid. Military forces stood ready, and in space, the quantum satellites waited silently, ready to strike again if needed. TU deadline clock ticked down. 19 hours remained. In his ready room, Jack Miller studied the tactical displays. Kate Williams entered with 2 cups of coffee. "Think they'll attack?" she asked. Jack accepted the coffee gratefully. "The Admiral seems smart. He's seen what we can do, but the Empire's pride might force his hand. And if they do attack?" Jack's expression hardened. "Then we show them that Earth's declaration isn't just words. It's a promise." Outside, the stars watched silently as 2 civilizations faced off across the void. The next move would determine the fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The Age of Empires was ending. The Age of Free Worlds was about to begin. The neutral station floated in space exactly at the 1 light-year boundary. Built by humanity in just 6 hours using advanced construction drones, it served as the meeting place for a historic negotiation. The station was simple, a large sphere, with docking ports on opposite sides, one for humans, one for Zorathians. John Baker straightened his tie as the Earth shuttle approached the station. As Earth's chief diplomat, he had negotiated with presidents, kings, and dictators. But this was his first alien. "Remember," said General Patricia Hayes over the communication link, "we're not backing down. The boundary stays." "Understood, General," John replied. "But I'll listen to what they have to say." Beside him sat Sam Cooper, head of security, and Dr. Ben Taylor, who specialized in alien communications. Both men checked their equipment one last time. "Their shuttle is approaching," the pilot announced. Through the window, John saw the alien craft, sleek, black, and 3 times the size of their shuttle. It moved with perfect precision to dock at the opposite port. Inside the station, the meeting room was circular with a round table in the center. The humans entered from one side just as the Zorathians entered from the other. Ambassador Krillmar stood 8 feet tall, with gray scales and 4 arms. His yellow eyes studied the humans with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. 2 guards flanked him, both carrying weapons that looked like crystalline spears. "I am Ambassador Krillmar of the Zorathian Empire," he said, his translated voice deep and formal. "You are the human representative?" "John Baker, diplomatic envoy of Earth," John replied, keeping his voice steady. "Shall we sit?" They took seats on opposite sides of the table. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Krillmar spoke first. "You have destroyed 3 of our scouts. This is an act of war against the Empire." John shook his head. "They crossed our declared boundary after multiple warnings. We defended ourselves, as is our right." "Rights?" Krillmar's laugh was harsh. "You speak of rights? The Zorathian Empire has ruled for 10,000 years. We have brought order to 1,000 worlds. You are nothing but primitives who have stumbled upon dangerous technology. If we're so primitive," Ben Taylor interjected, "how did we destroy your scouts so easily?" Krillmar's eyes narrowed. "A lucky accident. You cannot stand against the might of our full fleet." John leaned forward. "Ambassador, let's be clear. We've been monitoring your communications for a decade. We know about your empire, your methods, and your technology. We prepared specifically to counter your expansion." He activated a holographic display showing the star map. "And as we told your admiral, we've shared our defensive technology with 57 other worlds. Your empire's days of easy conquest are over." Krillmar stood abruptly, his chair scraping back. "You dare threaten the empire? We have 50,000 warships. Worlds tremble at our name." Sam Cooper tensed, ready to act if the alien guards moved, but John remained calm. "We're not threatening anyone," John said. "We're simply saying no. No to conquest. No to subjugation. No to your empire. Stay beyond our boundary and there's peace. Cross it and face the consequences." Back on Earth, billions watched the negotiation through live feeds. In command centers, military leaders monitored every word. Dr. Amy Rodriguez analyzed the alien body language from her lab. "The ambassador is getting agitated," she reported to General Hayes. "His vital signs show increased stress. They didn't expect this level of resistance." On the orbital defense station, Jack Miller and Kate Williams watched the diplomatic feed while maintaining vigilance on the alien fleet. "5 ships are moving," Kate reported. "Not toward us, but they're repositioning." "Keep tracking them," Jack ordered, "and make sure our fighters are ready to launch." Captain Mike Johnson and his squadron waited in their quantum fighters, engines warm, weapons charged. The new fighters could phase in and out of normal space, making them nearly impossible to hit. "Stay cool, everyone," Mike told his pilots. "We might need to move fast." In the negotiation room, Krillmar had regained some composure. He sat back down, his 4 hands folded on the table. "Perhaps we can reach an arrangement," he said. "The Empire is generous to those who cooperate. Become a protectorate. Pay tribute. You can maintain your local government while enjoying our protection." John smiled slightly. "Protection from whom? The only threat we face is your empire." "There are worse things in the galaxy than us," Krillmar warned. "Ancient powers, dark forces. The Empire keeps order." "We'll take our chances," John replied. "Earth and our allies will defend each other. We don't need an empire." Ben Taylor had been quietly working at his console. He looked up suddenly. "Mr. Baker, I'm detecting a hidden signal. The ambassador is transmitting to his fleet." Sam Cooper's hand moved to his weapon. "What kind of signal?" Before Ben could answer, Krillmar stood again. "You humans are more observant than expected. Yes, I've been scanning your technology, analyzing your defenses. The Empire will find your weakness." John stood as well, his face hardening. "This meeting is over. You have 18 hours to withdraw. I suggest you use them wisely." Krillmar's scales shifted to a darker color, a sign of anger. "You will regret this, human. The Empire has never been defied. When we return with our full might, your world will burn as an example to others." "Many have tried to conquer Earth," John said quietly. "All have failed. Your empire will be no different." The 2 groups left through their respective exits. As the human shuttle departed, Sam Cooper finally relaxed slightly. "Think he was bluffing about finding our weakness?" Sam asked. John watched the alien shuttle return to their fleet. "Maybe. But we should assume they learned something. Ben, what did they scan?" Ben studied his data. "They got a good look at our quantum entanglement frequencies. But without understanding the underlying physics, it won't help them much." "Let's hope you're right," John said. Back on the command ship, Admiral Vextor reviewed Krillmar's report. "Quantum entanglement? Gravitational manipulation? How did these primitives develop such technology?" "Unknown, Admiral," Krillmar replied. "But I believe I've found a potential weakness. Their system requires precise coordination. If we can disrupt their quantum links..." Vextor's mandibles clicked, the Zorathian equivalent of a smile. "Prepare the fleet. We attack in 6 hours." On Earth, preparations accelerated. The failed negotiation had confirmed what many suspected. The Zorathian Empire would not back down peacefully. In her underground lab, Dr. Rodriguez worked frantically with her team. "They scanned our quantum frequencies. We need to randomize the modulation, make it harder to jam." President Susan Mitchell addressed world leaders through secure channels. "It seems diplomacy has failed. Prepare for battle, but remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the freedom of every world threatened by this empire." The countdown continued. 18 hours had become 12. Soon the galaxy would witness a battle that would echo through history. Earth stood ready. The Empire prepared to attack. And across 100 light years, 57 worlds watched and waited, their own freedom hanging in the balance. 6 hours had passed since the failed negotiation. Admiral Vextor stood on his command deck, watching as 500 Zorathian warships moved into attack formation. The massive dreadnoughts, sleek destroyers, and swift fighters formed a wall of metal and energy weapons. "All ships report ready, Admiral," Sub-Admiral Krell announced. "The jamming field is prepared. Their quantum links won't work once we activate it. Vextor's 4 eyes gleamed with confidence. Begin the assault. Show these primitives the price of defying the Empire. On Earth's orbital defense station, alarms wailed across every deck. Commander Jack Miller rushed to the command center where Kate Williams was coordinating defensive positions. 500 enemy ships approaching the boundary, Kate reported. They're not stopping this time. Jack activated the Global Defense Network. All stations, this is command, enemy fleet incoming. Prepare for full engagement. Deep underground, Dr. Amy Rodriguez and her team worked frantically at their computers. The Zorathians had scanned their quantum frequencies, but the Earth scientists had spent the last 6 hours creating countermeasures. Randomization protocol is active, Amy reported. The quantum links are now shifting frequencies every millisecond. Their jamming won't work. In space, Captain Dave Roberts led his squadron of quantum fighters toward the boundary. Unlike Mike Johnson's squadron held in reserve, Dave's unit would meet the enemy head-on. Remember your training, Dave told his pilots. Phase shifts every 3 seconds. Don't give them a target. The moment arrived. The first wave of Zorathian ships crossed the boundary line. Admiral Vextor smiled. Activate the jamming field. A wave of electromagnetic interference burst from the Zorathian fleet. It was designed to disrupt Earth's quantum communications, to blind their defensive grid. It failed. Earth's satellites fired as one. Gravity pulses, impossible to block or deflect, struck the leading Zorathian ships. 20 vessels simply vanished, crushed into nothingness. Impossible, Vextor roared. The jamming should have worked. Admiral, their quantum frequencies are changing too fast, his science officer reported. We can't lock onto them. The battle erupted in full fury. Zorathian energy weapons fired at Earth's satellites, but the small defensive platforms were already moving, shifting positions unpredictably. For every satellite destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. Captain Dave Roberts and his fighters engaged the enemy directly. The quantum fighters lived up to their name, phasing in and out of reality. They would appear behind Zorathian ships, fire their weapons, then vanish before the enemy could respond. Fox 3, target destroyed, Dave reported, watching another alien fighter explode. These phase drives are incredible, but the Zorathians had numbers. For every ship Earth destroyed, more pushed forward. The defensive line began to buckle under the assault. In the command station, Jack watched the tactical display with growing concern. They're pushing through by sheer force. Kate, activate the enhanced grid. Kate's fingers flew over her console. Enhanced gravitational field coming online. Chris, we need more power. Weapons specialist Chris Anderson worked with Chief Engineer Mary Clark to boost the system's output. Redirecting power from all non-essential systems, Chris reported. Mary, can the generators handle this? Mary studied her readings. For a short time, yes, but we're pushing them past safe limits. Do it, Jack ordered. We need everything we've got. The enhanced defense grid activated. Instead of targeting individual ships, it created a massive gravitational distortion field across the entire battle zone. Zorathian vessels found themselves pulled in different directions, their formations shattered. Ships collided with each other. Others were torn apart by tidal forces. The organized assault became chaos. Admiral Vextor gripped his command console as his flagship shook violently. What is this madness? How are they doing this? Admiral, we've lost 200 ships, Krell reported, panic in his voice. Our formations are breaking apart. In his fighter, Captain Mike Johnson received the order he'd been waiting for. Blue, squadron, launch. Time to join the party. 12 more quantum fighters burst from Earth's atmosphere, Mike's squadron adding their firepower to the battle. Working with Dave's squadron, they carved through the disrupted Zorathian formations. Target the command ships, Mike ordered. Take out their leadership. Lisa Johnson, monitoring from the command center, guided her husband's squadron. Mike, large dreadnought bearing 035. That might be a command vessel. The 2 squadrons converged on the dreadnought. Phasing in and out of space, they avoided its defensive fire and planted antimatter charges along its hull. The massive ship erupted in a spectacular explosion. The battle turned into a rout. Zorathian ships, leaderless and battered by gravitational forces they couldn't understand or counter, began to retreat. But the defense grid wasn't finished. "Admiral, we must withdraw," Krell pleaded. "We've lost over half the fleet." Vextor's pride warred with reality. His mighty invasion force, 500 of the Empire's finest warships, was being systematically destroyed by a single primitive world. "Order the retreat," he finally growled. "All ships, fall back beyond the boundary." But Earth's defenses continued. Their assault. Ships trying to flee found themselves caught in gravity wells, crushed or flung into their comrades. The orderly retreat became a desperate flight for survival. When the battle ended, the statistics were staggering. Of 500 Zorathian ships, only 93 escaped. Over 400 vessels representing centuries of Imperial shipbuilding were gone. Debris fields stretched for millions of kilometers. Earth's losses: 7 satellites, 0 ships, 0 lives. In the command center, exhausted cheers erupted. Jack slumped in his chair, the tension finally releasing. "We did it. We actually did it." Kate smiled wearily. The Empire learned what no means. Around the world, celebrations began. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. But the implications went far beyond Earth. On the battered Zorathian flagship, Admiral Vextor sat in stunned silence. In 1,000 years of conquest, the Empire had never suffered such a defeat, never faced such technology, never been told no, and had it enforced so brutally. "Admiral," Krell said quietly, "the Emperor demands a report." Vextor looked at the tactical display, at the vast debris field that had been his fleet. Tell him we encountered something unprecedented. These humans, they're not primitives. They're something else entirely. The battle was over, but its effects were just beginning. Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds watched the broadcasts of Earth's victory. For the first time in millennia, someone had stood up to the Zorathian Empire and won. The Age of Empires was cracking. The age of free worlds was dawning, and it had begun with humanity's simple declaration: no Galactic Empire ships allowed. The throne room of the Zorathian Empire had never seen such silence. Emperor Zixzan, ruler of 1,000 worlds, sat on his crystal throne and stared at the holographic display. The images showed the debris field that had once been his mighty invasion fleet. 407 ships, the Emperor said, his voice barely above a whisper. Gone. Destroyed by a single world we deemed primitive. Admiral Vextor knelt before the throne, his forearms spread in submission. "Your Majesty, their technology was unlike anything we've encountered. They manipulated gravity itself as a weapon." The Emperor's 6 eyes focused on the Admiral. "And they claim to have shared this technology with other worlds?" "Yes, Your Majesty. 57 systems now possess these defenses." The implications were staggering. The Empire's expansion had relied on overwhelming force and superior technology. Now, neither advantage existed. "Your Majesty," spoke Chief Advisor Mexalan, "perhaps it's time to consider negotiation." On Earth, the victory celebrations continued, but the leadership was already planning the next steps. In the United Nations building, President Susan Mitchell addressed representatives from every nation. "We won a battle, not a war," she said. "The Empire still has thousands of ships. We must be prepared for their response." Dr. Amy Rodriguez presented her latest analysis. "We're detecting massive communication traffic throughout the Empire. Many of their subject worlds are showing signs of unrest. Our victory has given them hope." General Patricia Hayes added, "We've received contact requests from 17 different species. They want our defensive technology." Jack Miller, promoted to Admiral after the battle, spoke via video link from the orbital station. "We promise to share our defenses with any world seeking freedom. It's time to keep that promise." The meeting erupted in discussion. Some leaders worried about creating more conflicts. Others saw the opportunity to end galactic tyranny forever. President Mitchell raised her hand for silence. "The decision is made. We share the technology freely. Freedom should not be confined to Earth alone." 3 days later, Emperor Zixan made a decision that shocked his empire. A communication request came to Earth from the Imperial Palace itself. "This is unprecedented," John Baker said, studying the message. "The Emperor wants to speak directly with Earth's leadership." The video conference was arranged. On one side sat President Mitchell, flanked by Admiral Miller and Dr. Rodriguez. On the other appeared Emperor Zixan, a being with 6 eyes, scaled skin, and an aura of ancient power. "Humans of Earth," the Emperor began, his translated voice. "Carrying centuries of authority, you have achieved something remarkable. In 10,000 years, no single world has defeated an Imperial fleet so completely." "We didn't seek conflict, Your Majesty," President Mitchell replied. "We simply refused to surrender our freedom." The Emperor's eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought. "I offer a treaty. The Zorathian Empire recognizes Earth's sovereignty and your declared boundary. In return, you cease sharing your defensive technology with our subject worlds." Admiral Miller leaned forward. "No deal. The technology sharing continues. Your empire's expansion ends now." "You would risk war with our full might?" the Emperor asked. Dr. Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Your Majesty, we've analyzed your empire's structure. You rule through fear and force. When subjects see that you can be defeated, that fear disappears. Your empire is already crumbling." As if to prove her point, alerts began flashing on the Emperor's displays. 3 subject worlds had just declared independence, activating defensive grids provided by Earth. The Emperor's advisor whispered urgently in his ear. More worlds were rebelling. The Imperial fleet was being recalled to defend core systems. "I see," the Emperor said finally. "Then let us discuss new terms. The Empire will recognize the independence of any world that chooses freedom. In return, these worlds agree not to attack Imperial core systems." President Mitchell considered this. "Add one more condition. The Empire never again attempts to conquer unwilling worlds." "Agreed," the Emperor said, surprising even his own advisors. "The age of forced expansion is over." The treaty was signed within hours. The Galactic Freedom Accord, as it became known, marked the end of 10,000 years of Imperial conquest. Across the galaxy, world after world activated their new defensive systems. The Corvan Republic, the Altarian Federation, the Nexus Collective, all threw off Imperial control. Within 6 months, the Zorathian Empire had shrunk from 1,000 worlds to 300, all choosing to remain within the Imperial system. Onto Earth, Admiral Jack Miller stood with Kate Williams on the observation deck of the orbital station. The debris from the Great Battle had been cleared, leaving space peaceful once more. "Think it will last?" Kate asked. "The peace, I mean." Jack nodded slowly. "The balance of power has shifted. No single empire can dominate anymore. Worlds must cooperate or face isolation." Dr. Amy Rodriguez joined them, carrying a data pad. "The latest reports show 78 worlds now have full defensive grids. We're also sharing medical technology, farming techniques, and educational resources." "Building bridges instead of walls," Kate observed. "Exactly," Amy smiled. "Earth has become known not as conquerors, but as liberators and teachers." 1 year later, the first Galactic Assembly convened. Representatives from over 200 worlds gathered on a massive space station built through joint effort. John Baker, now Earth's permanent galactic ambassador, helped draft the Articles of Galactic Freedom. The articles established core principles: no forced conquest, shared defense against aggression, free trade and cultural exchange, and the right of every world to choose its own path. Even the Zorathian Empire sent representatives. Emperor Zixan, adapting to the new reality, had transformed his empire into a voluntary confederation. Former subject worlds could leave freely, but many chose to stay under the new, more equitable system. During the opening ceremony, President Mitchell addressed the assembly. 1 year ago, Earth stood alone against an empire. Today, we stand together as free worlds. We've learned that strength comes not from conquest but from cooperation, not from fear, but from friendship. As she spoke, Admiral Miller watched from the viewing gallery. Beside him stood former enemies, Zorathian officers who now served in the Joint Peacekeeping Force. Captain Dave Roberts commanded a mixed squadron of human and alien pilots. Dr. Rodriguez led a multi-species scientific consortium. The galaxy had changed forever. Where once mighty empires ruled through force, now free worlds cooperated by choice. Earth's simple declaration, "No galactic empire ships allowed," had sparked a revolution that transformed civilization itself. In the end, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their defensive technology. It was the idea that freedom, backed by determination and shared with generosity, could defeat any tyranny. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, shining on a galaxy where every world could choose its own destiny. The age of empires had ended. The age of free worlds had begun, and it had all started with Earth saying one simple word: no.